Welcome back, my DIY nomads. We are back for another episode. I hope you guys are doing all really well today. Adventures with Rosie. You guys noticed that behind me, although orientated in the sort of the wrong way, there is a trailer. We've been working on this trailer, me and Ben. We got this used trailer. We've just basically been grinding it back and respraying it. It is going to be our next little side, well, it's going to be in the workshop side project to get money back into the unit, and this is going to become a micro home. So I'm going to obviously film that for my channel as well. It's going to be another side series along with the van stuff. Don't worry, it's not going to just all turn to micro homes, but it is basically along the same lines, but we're going to do a bit of mix of both. Today though, we're going to be focusing on getting my kitchen back into the van. So because I put the bulkhead in, it cut in on the top of the work surface here, and I didn't really want to work on it inside the van because all the sawdust and everything like that. We've taken it out, and in here we can work on it in a much better environment, quicker, cleaner, just better all around. What I've done though is I've taken the time to add this little drawer here. So that's going to be like a little cutlery drawer. I've even ground out this so that it gets under a little bit of the sink. The fridge has budged over to the right so that I can put the can storage sort of larder rack there. And then this still leaves me with this big gap on the left here. And what I've gone and done is I've got this bin down here, which I got for 50 quid, and it's already freestanding, and it has 3 little bins in it. So I can put sort of, you know, main rubbish, food waste and recycling all in here, and I can rearrange the bins as well. I like the idea of it being freestanding because I can just mount it in here, just like that, and then I can add another one of these larger things, a wider one on the other side, and I'm going to add another drawer up here, across here. It does need to cut underneath the cooker here and give enough space for the pipes to come down, but we've definitely got space to play with. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and getting this kitchen back in. So I cut the sides of the drawer to the dimensions I needed, and then I cut out the groove for the base. We use the table saw, but you could also use a hand or a circular saw, a router. There's even hand tools to do this. Afterwards, I transferred the pieces to my pocket hole jig, and I don't know why I doubled them up here. It was mainly because I just didn't want to adjust where the clamp was, but you basically put in one piece at a time, and they usually come with a drill bit like this. You can see the angle there. It will cut through, and the smaller part of the drill shaft will just leave the hole for the screw, but the main drill shaft will basically drill the hole for the head of the screw to get down inside the wood and hide it away. You can see it from a different angle here. I did also think that it looked like a little robot that was throwing up wood chips. But it's a really quick, really efficient tool, and I absolutely love it. Here you can see the pocket holes drilled out, and then on the other side the actual part for the base of the drill. And there are the tiny holes left by the end of the drill bit where the screw I put all the sides up against each other and clamped them in place just to check that all of the grooves that I cut out were lining up with each other. I also do this because I also measure up for the base, how big it's going to be. You can go via base measurements, but I also just like to double check with secondary measurements. Here you can see I was cutting a bit of 5.5mm plywood using the table saw. I understand that obviously now with the workshop we've got access to some really nice tools and machinery, but that doesn't mean that you can't do this at home with much more affordable tools. You could do this with hand saws, you can do this with jigsaws. There are so many ways to achieve the same result. We slid the base in, but as you can see, I cut the piece just to the wrong size. I think I just rotated the piece wrong when I put it through the table saw, which meant that I trimmed off the 1 centimeter off the wrong dimension, because this drawer was basically almost square. But there you can see me screwing in the screws using the pocket holes. It hides them away. It's strong. It looks really good. And then I took it back over to the kitchen and slid it into place. I rested on top of the bin, and I take a second here just to adjust it, and you might be thinking like it doesn't fit at all, but actually this is so that the drawer runners can go either side of it. So you have to take into account not just the width of the drawer, but also the thickness of each of the drawer runners. So the drawer is all built. I'm really stoked with it. It's actually come together really nicely. And I was going to go out and get some drawer runners, but I do have these are a bit too long for this drawer. I say a bit too long. They still will fit, and they've got plenty of screw points to fit onto the side of this drawer. Sorry, but I might as well use these up because they're not getting used. They're just sat at the back of the workshop doing nothing. I had them on like a different project, and now they've been sat there for so long that I might as well just use them up now. So the drawer is going to go above this bin. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to use this for stuff like cups, a few low-down saucepans and stuff like that. And then all I need to do is get my mitts on, another one of these larder sort of boyos. And this whole kitchen will be fully stocked out. Fitting drawer runners is a bit of an art. I am getting used to it now, but you have to make sure that everything's super lined up. So for instance, Right, I'm going to stop the video here. I really waffled the next bit of information, so I'm just going to overlay my voice over the top of this. You really want to make sure you measure, double measure, triple measure everything up before mounting the runners. Any slight discrepancies will make fitting the drawer an absolute nightmare. If there's any sort of difference between how far they are mounted from the front of the unit, it'll basically twist the drawer and make it a nightmare to slide in and out. So really take your time. It's not too difficult, but just make sure you measure everything accurately before you screw everything together. Right guys, so here is the finished article. We've got a lot of front space here. I'd say it's about 20 centimetres and about 25 centimetres here, which means that I've got some front space. I can put my chopping board here, chop, 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 whack it onto into my pans when I'm cooking. I haven't pushed it all the way up to the back yet, which is why you can see the change in paint between the white wall and the ply below. Oh yeah, got my little air plants with my AstroTurf back there, my little carved out oak cup. So we've got the 3 drawers in. Well, that's not a drawer, but we've got these 2 drawers and our little pull-out pantry, and then the pull-out bins. I've given them these little, I had this leather lying around, it's quite thick, nice leather, so I chopped off strips of it, put 2 holes in it, and then used these knurled thumb knob screws to put it through. They're like the ones from IKEA. You can actually get these from IKEA, but the one in IKEA is so overpriced, so I built these for a lot cheaper. But currently, yeah, we've got one very big, deep sort of drawer here. Now, I did use extremely long runners for this, so it goes an abnormally large way out, but I found this actually to be quite useful for me. I wouldn't recommend you actually do this in real life. You'd want the drawer to sort of only come out to about there max. But while I've been doing this, I can actually, so there's a thing with this bin that I found, and it's actually quite useful to be able to take this whole drawer all the way out to get this top lid off sometimes. It has like a top cover, this bit. We've then got this other little drawer curved out here so it goes up against the sink and doesn't touch it and doesn't get condensate on it. Just got like chopping boards and other random stuff in there. Then the little pantry. Of course, you've got to have some Heinz beans. The fridge. I need to adjust the latch here because I've tightened it up and it's actually really hard to now open, and I don't want that. And then these bins, which are absolutely awesome. So they slide out, and then I've got 3 bins. All of these then have handles like this, and you can take them out. And because there's 3, I can do I'm guessing they meant main waste, food waste, recycling, but I've gone for it, say that's recycling, food waste and main waste, because we actually make so little like general waste, not very much food waste, but obviously there's a lot of recycling. And in between here, you'll see I've painted this whole bit the same cyan colour that was on the drawer. Oh yeah, and we've also got the little Wallace controls here. Now I don't know how to fill in this square yet, so I haven't done that. I'm going to give the bins a wood front similar to this, but I'm thinking that I might just add another pantry, like a shorter one, and then put one big fascia across the front here, so that it just pulls out in one. But I don't know if I like that idea, so I'm just playing around with how I use this space while I use the van, and see what I use it for most and what works best before I give it a front. But now behind there, I used to, obviously the sink was over that side before, wasn't it? Well, I had the sink with a flexible, like 22mm, like very flexible clear PVC pipe going from the connection at the bottom of the sink just straight out the van. Now underneath this sink here, I've got an actual proper U-bend, and it's all solid pipe work now, all push fit, goes out through the van out towards my wastewater tank, so not going to have any potential smells coming back up through the pipe. And that was really my updated kitchen. I'm really glad the way it turned out. It was in sort of like a midway step before, where I sort of like got to a point and I didn't really know where to go forward with it, so it stayed a bit unfinished. We took the van down to Cornwall. You might have seen some photos, and we used it. We used the kitchen. It worked really, really well. It works fantastic for such a small. The kitchen's only about 115 centimeters wide, and for such a small, compact area, it's an absolute workhorse, which is great news. Can't underestimate how useful it is to actually have real bins. We kept forgetting to install bins before, and you just end up with like these little bags in random locations around the van that become your bins, which is really annoying. So bins have been a really big change, which is nice. And the increased space at the front of both the sink and the cooker, yes, there is the whole thing of like, because it's not right up near the front of the edge of the kitchen, it's like you know how the house thing, you won't have to lean over the counter very much to get to your pans. You don't really have to do that with the setup right now, but you gain so much workspace and so much usable space, and it was just wasted behind the cooker and the sink, and you couldn't really use it then. So that has been a really awesome change as well. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed changing the kitchen up and getting it to a usable point, so I'll catch all of you DIY nomads next time.